Welcome, Entourage. One of my favorite videos that I do all week because I know the importance of picking up the right waivers and also the importance of passing up on certain players, because that's why you guys are here. Not only to know who to pick up, but to know who to pass up on. And sometimes who you pass on is more important than who you pick up. Because I don't want you guys to feel like you always have to use your waivers. For those who are new, welcome. Please, if you like what I'm providing you today, there's a lot of thought, research, and effort that goes into making these videos. That's why I do them live. If you notice, a lot of guys make videos, they have cuts. If I mess up, I'm messing up live, guys. So it takes a lot to really know football like this. And that's why in previous weeks, I told you guys to pick up DJ Shark after week 1. I told you last week about Disley, a hot name this week. So anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it, guys. Week 4 waiver wire targets, beginning with the quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, did he put on a show for us on the road? 4 total touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 rushing guys. The Bucs up to last week looked like a solid defense, and Daniel Jones tore them apart. Those who have been following me know how much I love running quarterbacks. It's like a cheat code. That's why I was really high on Kyler Murray. That's why I've been high on Josh Allen. I said, wait on a quarterback. And this is the perfect example why you wait on a quarterback, because here we are, week 4, and we have a stud because Daniel Jones is the truth. My number 1 overall pickup, because if he continues to do what he does with his feet, I love that he's real cerebral. He makes the right throws. And believe it or not, that Giants offensive line is much improved, and he's actually got weapons. Yeah, he's got Sterling Shepard. The reason I didn't like Shepard, well, there's still concern with Shepard because he is injury prone. But if he stays healthy, he's talented. And when you have a good quarterback, it makes okay receivers or talented receivers, not great receivers, look great. Davante Adams wouldn't be Davante Adams without Aaron Rodgers. And MVS, and a lot of these, MVS was a 5th rounder, looks like a really solid receiver. So I think Daniel Jones, because he's able to drop those dimes, Danny Dimes, can make these receivers relevant. A name you want to look out for probably is Golden Tate because of that, but we'll get more into the receivers. But long story short, Daniel Jones is for real. I love the kid. I love his athleticism, and he's with a coach under Pat Shurmur that knows how to mold quarterbacks. He was Case Keenum's coach 2 years ago, which got Case Keenum a big contract, and now we see what Case Keenum is, but he looked like a different guy in Minnesota. That's the same Pat Shurmur. He couldn't save Eli, unfortunately. Everybody's tried to do that. But I think Daniel Jones, this kid is for real. Another guy I like, another young quarterback, another backup, Kyle Allen. He is worth a waiver too because, again, he's in a unique situation where this kid's got an arsenal, guys. DJ Moore is a great receiver. Curtis Samuel's a great talent. Why wasn't I as big on Curtis Samuel? Because of Cam Newton, not Curtis Samuel. Well, guess what? We have a quarterback now that is accurate with the football. He's decisive. I mean, Cam's back there like just overthrowing players. This guy, Kyle Allen, backs up. He knows where he's going, and he gets that player the football in a timely manner. He's very accurate, and they're getting the ball out of his hands super quick. And you got 2 receivers like a Moore, like a Curtis Samuel, who are great at separation. They have blazing speed, tremendous talents to both of them. They are starters moving here on forward as long as Kyle Allen remains the quarterback. And I didn't even mention Greg Olsen, who had 2 touchdowns. Kyle Allen threw another quarterback who had 4 touchdowns, except Kyle Allen threw for all 4. And he is an underrated athlete. He can move in the pocket. Week 17 of last year, he had a rushing touchdown as well as 2 throwing touchdowns against the New Orleans Saints, who had a very good defense last year. So I really like those 2 players because not only I think they're talented, they have weapons, they're in good systems, Of course, Kyle Allen also has McCaffrey, and they have great matchups. A lot of you guys need great matchups because maybe you started off bad. Maybe your quarterback is Jimmy G and he has a bye and he hasn't looked good anyway. Maybe it's Josh Allen. He's going against the Patriots. Maybe it's even Tom Brady. I don't know if I'll bench him for Brady, but Kyle Allen going against Houston, one of the most generous when it comes to giving up points to quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, we saw what he can do, and he also gets a favorable matchup against the Redskins. Absolutely love those two guys. They are worth the waiver. Who knows if Cam gets – I think Cam has a very serious injury, could be out multiple weeks, maybe the season if it continues to linger. Cam may lose the job. He has not looked good. He's never been a good thrower of the football. His value was running. Well, this guy looks like a real quarterback, Kyle Allen. Who knows if Cam will even get that job back, especially if he can't run because he can't throw. Running backs. I think a lot of people are not aware of Wayne Gallman, but Wayne Gallman's actually a pretty decent running back. A lot of people were high on him a couple of years ago. He came in as a rookie. He scored some points. What I like about Gallman is I like Daniel Jones. So if you're in a pretty good offense and you're the starting running back, and there's not a lot of competition. I just got a text that they're bringing in Benny Cunningham, and maybe Gallman's not going to be Saquon. He's not going to be your workhorse. But what I like most about him is he is a pass catcher. And that means everything in PPR. If you can catch the football, because that makes your floor that much safer. If you can't catch the football, your floor is really low. If you can, Gallman will keep you in games because he'll get double-digit points or should get double-digit points every game just based on getting, 4 or 5 receptions, couple of rushing yards. And then if he gets in the end zone, he's a borderline RB2, RB1. So I think he's definitely a safe flex, and I think he's closer to an RB2 because I think the Giants have used the running back, as a pass catcher. Daniel Jones is quarterback. They have a bad enough defense where they're going to need to run a lot of offensive plays, and if he doesn't have to come off the field for third down because he's a pass catcher, I think Gallman is a very, very, very solid pickup. Darrell Williams is another name. Darrell Williams, a lot of people liked him 2 years ago. I actually mentioned Darrell Williams when Kareem Hunt got suspended last year as a possible replacement because I was not a fan of Spencer Ware. So I mentioned him and I mentioned Damian Williams. And this year it looks like he's gained Andy Reid's trust. He looked pretty good. I was really surprised about his ability as a pass catcher because he's a bigger back, but they run such a great system in the Chiefs. And for that reason, if only that reason, anybody that's on the Chiefs is worth a pickup. What's really golden is if you have Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson. If you own those two, I think those two are a better shot than fantasy owners who might own LaShawn McCoy and Damian Williams. We saw all it takes is one for Darrell Williams to become relevant. So chances are I'm willing to bet. Listen, guys, if 50% of running backs make it the whole year, I'm willing to bet one of those will not be the Chiefs. Just simple facts. Damian Williams was dealing with the hamstring most of the offseason. Now he had a contusion. Shady got injured 2 games in a row. Yes, he played through them, but he got injured again. It's like he got injured in week 2. Then he might not play. He plays. Then he got injured again in week 3. So 31 years old, I'm not banking on those guys to make it to the season. So either or it looks like Darrell Williams will be next in line. But if you could own the pair, most of you guys cannot do that. And I don't suggest that most of you do that. If you have a deeper bench, if you have a deeper league, you can do that. If you only have 5, 6, 7 bench spots, it's going to be tougher. But I'm just throwing it out there so you can pay close attention that I'm more hopeful, I guess, in that pair than the Shady Damian Williams pair. So take it for what it's worth. Some of you guys, if your bye weeks align perfectly, you know what I'm saying, where you only have one player on a bye week and you just position yourself perfectly, then maybe you could get away with that and you secured what I feel is the better half of the Chiefs backfield. Because right now there's 4 guys all in kind of vying for that spot. Chris Thompson, this guy is going to be a bye week filler. See, when I look at waivers, I try to find staples, and that's why I told you guys, a couple weeks, pass up on certain guys, DeMarcus Robinson, because they're like rentals. And when Tyreek comes back, how relevant is DeMarcus Robinson going to be? How relevant is Mecole Hardman going to be? Because now you got Sammy Watkins also in the mix, and I don't like players that are darts. They are worth owning, but as far as waivers you use for guys like Daniel Jones, Gallman, who's going to be the starting running back for at least 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer. That's where you want to save your waiver for. Chris Thompson's a bye week filler, though. If you need immediate help, if you're really short on running back, he'll get the job done. He'll get you 10 points, 12 points, 13 points. That offense is not very good, but he's the perfect example of a bye week filler. If Alexander Mattison is on your bench, Alexander Mattison looks like he garners flex consideration, which is really, really cool because Alexander Mattison could be a league winner. He can be an RB1 with a Dalvin Cook injury, and he could still be a flex even with Dalvin Cook in the lineup. And that's the perfect player to pick up. There's been, owners that think Dalvin Cook is fine. They think, Alexander Madison's nothing but a handcuff, not worth owning. Take advantage of that because, again, every single year there are backup running backs who win your league. And I don't know if I've done a good job of making myself clear when it comes to stash backs and exactly what a stash back is. Listen, guys, stash backs are lottery tickets. They're to be at your end of your bench. If you need somebody, remember my rule about waivers. Waivers, you use a waiver if you can start the player immediately. And if you need somebody immediately, then maybe you have to let go of Darwin Thompson or Ty Johnson. I wouldn't let go of Alexander Mattison. But stash backs are lottery tickets. They're league winners, but they don't all work out. That's why they're lottery tickets. If they work out, boom, you're golden. If they don't, maybe 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 work out. But I'm telling you, between Ty Montgomery, Ty Johnson, Jalen Samuels, Damian Harris, Alexander Mattison, Tony Pollard, Darwin Thompson, out of those 7, at least 2 to 3 are going to be league winners. Problem is you can't hold all of them. So you hold as many as you can, but meanwhile, you have to win. We have to win games, or else it doesn't matter if they come on late. So I understand that. So it's finding that balance, and that's the way you determine that balance is if you need a player immediately, yeah, you got to let them go, and then you just save your waiver. You just save your waiver. So if you need to pick them back up when that golden ticket finally emerges and everybody's on that bandwagon, at least you'll have the number 1 waiver or the necessary fob. So that's a good way to play waivers. Tony Pollard, same thing as Alexander Mattison. He might garner some immediate flex consideration, but at the same time, if something happens to Zeke, he's another league winner. So he's kind of got the best of both worlds, and that's why I put them ahead of Jalen Samuels. Didn't get a touch. Damian Harris has been inactive, but I can still see those guys possibly, coming on later on. So just keep them, just put them on your watch list. Keep them close. Make sure you're paying attention to the news so you could pounce on them. And sometimes the best players, the league winners, I just got for free because they were available. It was after the waivers and some news broke out and boom. An example of that, what could be an example, Ito Smith. Ito Smith got concussed in week 3, okay? So all of a sudden we find out that Ito Smith misses week 3. Brian Hill all of a sudden becomes a name you want to consider because he's been inactive. They need somebody else besides Freeman. So always be thinking ahead. I think that covers running backs. Wide receivers, not a lot here. Nelson Aguilar, he had that touchdown, made a beautiful play, by the way, which saved his week. But Nelson Aguilar, again, is a rental. He just took advantage of the situation. Djax was out. Goddard only played 9 snaps, and Jeffrey was out. So, again, I like getting staples. Is Nelson Aguilar somebody I would spend a waiver on? Probably not, unless you're very short at receiver and you need a win this week. If you're really short on receiver and he's going to play for you immediately, then yes, spend your waiver. Not a high one, but spend your waiver on Nelson Aguilar. Same thing with Dorsett. Dorsett, I'm still a little weary because I like consistent players. Now, he had 2 blow-up games. He had the game with AB where he was pretty much irrelevant, so we can maybe attribute that to AB. But fact is, Dorsett did play 92% of the snaps. So is he worth a waiver? Again, yes, if you need to plug him in immediately, but at the same time, too, Dorsett plays Buffalo. Not the best matchup. Not the best matchup at all. So you might be better off holding your waiver. So let's say you're at the end of the waiver, guys. You got 8, 9, 10. You shoot for Gallman or Darrell Williams or Daniel Jones. None of them are available. Maybe that's your opportunity to climb up the waiver. So maybe you don't take – if you're not starting Nelson Aguilar immediately, then you're not using that. So the first 3 or 4 waivers will probably be taken with the guys I mentioned. So all of a sudden, maybe you can move up to that top 3 or 5. And then when the next Gallman comes, because it's coming, then you're ready for him. You know what I'm saying? And it'll probably be better because Saquon, my guess is Saquon, Saquon's a special player. They said 4 to 8 weeks. I think it's either going to be all or nothing with Saquon. I think it's going to be 4. I think it's going to be 8. I don't think it's going to be in between. I think Saquon's special. He might be a special healer because he's just in such tremendous shape and such a God-given athlete. Or they're going to play it super cautious and then wait after the bye, which means week 12 because their bye is week 11. That's my personal feeling. So Gallman is a great – as long as Saquon's out, Gallman's great. But what I'm saying is there's going to be another Gallman, and it might be even a more permanent situation. So don't be scared to hold back your waiver because we're looking for league winners. We're not looking for mediocrity. And a guy I probably like both more than Aguilar or Dorsett is Kenny Stills. Why? Because Kenny Stills is ascending. It seems like every game he's been either playing consistent over double digits, and he hasn't been playing that many snaps. Now he's up to 50% of the snaps. He's been with the team 3 weeks. Kiki Cudi is on his way down. I think he had only 29% of the snaps. Will Fuller has not looked good. Kenny Stills also can play inside and outside, which is a big, benefit. And he's got Deshaun Watson throwing him the football. Deshaun Watson likes to throw the football. Their running game sucks. Their defense is mad suspect. So it's a perfect scenario of a throwing team, talented receiver, and the other 2 guys, besides Hopkins, talking about Fuller and Cudi, whatever his damn name is, they're injury prone. So Kenny Stills is a player that you can pick up, maybe even for free. Maybe you don't even need a waiver wire, but he can start for you immediately, and he has a better chance of staying on your team as opposed to Aguilar and Dorsett, where I could see them being dropped later on. I think Kenny Stills might be here to stay. And he's probably going after Aguilar and Dorsett, or maybe even free, which is even better. But you guys got to read your league. You know your league's better. Some of you guys, your waiver wire looks like it could be a playoff team. Some of you guys, your waiver wire is like, Kenny Stills might even be taken. Next up, tight ends. Told you guys about Disley last week. This guy looks to be the real deal. Simply put, Carson's been a bust. I expected the Seattle – I expected Seattle to be different. I expected them to be really good on defense, and maybe they get better. And I expected to be a running team. So far, neither has happened. They have not looked good defensively, especially in the secondary. And they have not looked good running the ball. And Chris Carson has coughed up the ball every game so far, which means Russell Wilson has been throwing the ball, which I love Russell Wilson. I always thought he's a better real-life quarterback because Russell Wilson always adjusts. Like, if the other team ain't scoring much, then they'll grind it out. They'll win these sloppy games. What I do love about Wilson, he always has a safe floor, but he could also do what we saw this past week, throw 50 passes, throw for 300 touchdowns, almost 400 yards. That's the Russell Wilson, or maybe he did throw for 400. So with that said, because they're passing more than usual, Disley has gotten 5 and 6 targets 5 and 7 targets his last 2 weeks, which is all you can ask for a tight end. If you got a tight end getting 5 to 7 targets, and what's great about catching balls from Winston is that usually you catch him at like a 70-80% rate because he's so good and so accurate. The first game, he had 5 targets, caught all 5, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. Even his rookie year, he had 2 touchdowns in 4 games and missed the rest of the season. Last week, 6 of 7 targets, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Absolutely love Disley. Must pick up. By far the number 1 tight end pickup this week. And then the other guy I like, another one of those talent over everything situation, is Dawson Knox. Really like this kid Knox. Another one, you know why I really like him? Because I understand how hard it is to be a good tight end your rookie season. We have 2 studs, Hawkinson and Font. So far, they haven't turned it up. But this kid, Dawson Knox out of Buffalo, he's an athlete. He gets overlooked because he played for Ole Miss, which happened to have 2 amazing receivers. Talking about DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, 2 beasts. But so he didn't get a lot of opportunities. But sometimes being drafted in the right system, a lot of these tight ends that we see that are superstars in the league, Jimmy Graham wasn't that great. Antonio Gates wasn't that great. And, you know, I'm going back here some, but what I'm trying to say, if you put a superior athlete and you put him under great coaching, and this kid's got that it factor. He's like, you see him run, and he's not scared. He's ready to hit somebody. He's ready. Like, I watch these guys, and the league is not too big for this kid. And when you have somebody with his size, his athleticism, runs a 4.56 40, which is blazing fast for a tight end, and his team needs pass catchers. Who they got? John Brown? Can we really rely on John Brown? He's a deep threat. Cole Beasley? He's a shrimp. But Dawson Knox, big guy. Josh Allen, he had he had a big 49-yard catch, had a touchdown this past game. So, and he's only playing about 50% of the snaps, 50 to 60, I think closer to 50. And he missed most of the offseason. So he's a player that can actually get better. To be a rookie tight end, miss practically the whole offseason, I think, and come in and already make an impact by week 3, getting consistent targets, running a lot of routes too. I think he ran over 30 routes, they said. That's a lot for a tight end, a rookie tight end. So there's an opportunity there. And again, perfect storm. Talent meets opportunity. Now, for the bad news. Week 4, Patriots, not the best of matchup. But like you hear me repeat, the ball's got to go somewhere. It ain't going to John Brown against Stephen Gilmore. Cole Beasley, maybe Dawson Knox, if he continues to get 5-6 targets, is your guy. So it can't get any worse. Dawson Knox, I would use a waiver on Dawson Knox. I would if depends. This is why you got to know your leagues. A lot of you guys come to me, you're like, hey, would you use a waiver on this guy? Maybe. But if you could get him for free, if your league, one of those leagues that people are sleeping, then don't use it. But I wouldn't use a high waiver on Knox. But I would use a low waiver on Knox, especially if you need a tight end. He does have upside. He looks to get the volume. Nice situation. And then 2 other guys, 2 other darts. Noah Font. Noah Font, he did have a fumble this week. Not good. But it seems like Noah Font, you're going to have to be patient with him. But what are tight ends really giving you? Outside of Kelsey and Ertz, obviously, everybody else is basically in the same boat. So if you just want to play him now, if you really need a tight end, like let's say you got Vance McDonald and Jared Cook and you're just, dying, then play Font. He may only get you 6 or 7 points. You could hope for a touchdown. But later on, if you got a nice team, chances are you're not relying on your tight end. If you are, then you got problems. But if you have a nice team, if you have that 3-headed monster, you got solid high floor receivers, and you could plug in, Font for those 6 or 7 points, but he's somebody that could pay dividends later down the road. And then Trey Burton, just another dart. Looks like he's ascending. He was nursing I think a groin injury, so he's only been back the last couple of weeks. It looks like they're getting him more involved. Mitch Trubisky's not the best. You're really just hoping for a touchdown, but again, it's one of those situations where, it's a total crapshoot. So if you want to take pick him up, you probably don't even need to use a waiver for either Font or Burton. So these are your alternatives. Let's say you want to hold your waiver, you got a high waiver or whatever, or you're using it somewhere else, then Disley and Knox are the ones that are worth the waiver, but Font and Burton are some alternatives. And then the defense is interesting this week. I'm including defense. Shout out to my boy Sabi, who gave me this idea, because I guess I was kind of neglecting y'all. I didn't include defense. But to be honest with you, and a lot of people ask me about defenses, and I really don't pay much attention to them. I really don't. Same thing with kickers. Because to me, I think you're totally guessing. With defenses, you just hope for a turnover, which we saw last night with Chicago. But prior to that, and this is why I told you guys, don't waste a high draft pick on a defense. I didn't draft a defense in one of my leagues, and I picked up Buffalo. Like, that's how defenses work. Chicago didn't have double-digit points in defense for the first 2 weeks, and then yesterday they went off. Because if you get a turnover, that really changes things, but you can't rely on a pick six. So with that said, there's some nice defenses, but there's still a crapshoot. I wouldn't waste a waiver on the defense. I never have. Unless, you're in dire need. Because, look, I'll take this is a perfect example. Everybody's going nuts for the LA Chargers. They're like, oh, they play Miami. But, guys, I know they play Miami. But the Chargers are not that good. Like, I don't get excited about matchups that much. Like, some people are going to go crazy. And, every dog has its day. That dog is Miami. And I didn't check the points. Maybe I should. I don't think Dallas essentially tore it up last week against Miami. So even though they look bad, they didn't, score. Let me check, because I could be wrong, because I really didn't check. But what I'm trying to say is that the Cowboys do not excite me. Their defense doesn't excite me. The Chargers. Let me see here. Well, yeah, Dallas had 12 points. Bad example. But at the same time, they were at home. And Dallas is better than the Chargers. So the Chargers are traveling from LA, one point of the country, to the total end of the country, Miami, total down, maybe 6, 7, 8 hour flight. No, probably like 6. No, probably like 5 or 6. But anyway, time zone differentials, and teams historically do not play well traveling across the country. So the Chargers defense stinks. They're traveling across the country on the road. I'm not crazy about the Chargers defense. You know what defense I do like? Who do they play? I didn't write it here. One defense I like that will probably be on your waiver wire. Oh, it's Denver. Denver has not looked good on defense. But Denver is a great defense at home, traditionally. So they're an option. There's no defense that I get excited for this week, but there's a lot of defenses that could be streamed. The Ravens facing the Browns. Again, doesn't thrill me. I'm not, that low on Baker where I'm like, yes, start the Ravens. But they're at home, and the Browns' offensive line has looked shaky. Probably my favorite, though, would be the Steelers. The Steelers. They look like they had an attitude on Sunday. Yes, they lost the game, but San Francisco also has a really good defense. But they're playing Monday night. They're going to want to play, guys. The Steelers are a prideful team. At home, Monday night, similar to what we saw with the Bears, even though they were on the road. It's like Washington on the national scene Monday night. I think we're going to see a similar game from this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and they might be available. Everybody's looking at them at trash, but guys, you can't underestimate the pass trick and that safety. That defense looked totally different on Sunday, and they had to travel across the country. I think at home against a division rival that they know all too well, Andy Dalton, limited weapons, I like the Steelers as my favorite streaming defense. I mentioned the Broncos. Colts might be good. At home, Colts are a different team. Colts is like a tale of two cities. On the road, home, against Oakland, they have a pretty safe floor. And this one might sound surprising to you guys. Buffalo. I know they play the Patriots, but guys, Buffalo has always played not always, but lately they've played the Patriots really tough, especially at home. If this wasn't in New England, I'd say, hell no, do not start Buffalo. But since it is at home, I think Buffalo, they'll have Tre'Davious White on Gordon. You know, New England can't run the ball. It's a division game. They're at home. I think Buffalo's a safe start. I wouldn't avoid Buffalo is what I'm saying. If you got them, I'd start Buffalo with New England. I have no problem with that. Other than that, I think Hawks and Arizona, Seattle's defense hasn't looked good, but that Cardinals offensive line is shaky at best. You could get Murray to commit some turnovers or at least take some sacks because that offensive line is shaky. So the Hawks are a consideration. Vikings and Bears, you could start both of those defenses. So lots of defenses. They're all kind of like a crapshoot. If I had to separate one, it would be Pittsburgh, but they're all a crapshoot. Pittsburgh's my favorite out of the streaming. But so yeah, there you have it, guys. If you want to belong to my Facebook group, this is the last week I'm accepting people. It's only $10 the whole year. We strategize, we get your team right, tell you to target, tell you your flaws, where you need to improve on, if you have enough depth, where that depth should be coming from, things like that. Just send me a DM at fantasyfootballrapper on Instagram. You can also tweet me at IamFFRapper on Twitter, and then Facebook and everything like that. Comment down below as well. Any questions? Who are you targeting in the waiver wire, or anything you agree or disagree with? And like always, guys, tomorrow is going to be my buy, sell, or hold. There's some interesting players on that. Always trying to get you guys ahead of the curve so we don't buy into the recency bias and start chasing points, which a lot of you guys do. So, yeah, that'll be out tomorrow. And until next time, guys, we out of here.